Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you for joining our circle. I'm Junior, and today we take a look at a film that was produced by the now defunct Canon International, and it would lay the groundwork for a new action star to emerge, influence other media, and leave a lasting impression. Let's take a look. Bloodsport would be released in the spring of 1988, which would be the breakout role for Jean Claude Van Damme. Filmed on a $2 million budget, the film was a box office success. Even though receiving mixed reviews, the film would make over $50 million at the box office.
$50 million?
Thus catapulting Van Damme into superstardom. This film would leave such an impact that it would later influence Ed Boon and John Tobias. If those names sound familiar, it's because they would go on to make the video game Mortal Kombat. Midway had the Bloodsport license, and the game would have seen a digitized Van Damme, but the idea did not come to fruition. But Boon and Tobias would go on to create the game, and Van Damme would influence the creation of Johnny Cage. And yes, that's why Johnny Cage hits people in the nuts. So without further ado, here is Bloodsport. The film opens up with a montage, which was already pretty cliche for 1988. But instead of the typical protagonist, we see all the fighters that'll partake in the tournament, and it highlights all the different styles we'll see later on. Oh, but don't worry, we'll see more montages. Anyways, we are then introduced to our protagonist, Frank Dukes, played by Jean Claude Van Damme, and he is based on the real life Frank Dukes and his supposed accomplishments in a similar tournament as depicted in the film. Even though there have been many articles debunking his claims of this tournament ever existing, or being sent to covert missions overseas with the military and being awarded the Medal of Honor, or even being involved with the CIA. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt and I won't call him a liar, but...
I ain't calling you a truther!
But he did help choreograph the fights in the film, which are the best parts, so kudos on him on that.
Alright, so yeah!
So Dukes is an army officer and abandons his post in order to participate in the secret tournament known as the Kumite. But if it's so secret, how does the army know about it? Anyways, Dukes ends up visiting his teacher's home, and thus we get our flashbacks on how he met his teacher as a child. And let's just get this out the way right now. We are truly spoiled with the talent of child actors we have today, because before they came few and far in between, and this is just cringe. And I'm not trying to make fun of the kid, but I can't figure out if this is his accent or if he's trying to copy Van Damme's accent.
I wasn't going to steal it. How come you coach him but not me? If you expect me to be punching bad, you can forget about our deal.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So Dukes breaks into Senzo Tanaka's home, who is played by Roy Chow, but instead of calling the cops, he persuades his parents to allow him to train along with his son, Shingo Tanaka. But the kid is only on screen for not even 2 minutes before they kill him off. But I have to admit, Chow's acting is on full display as he tells us the story of losing his first wife and son in World War II, and then escaping to the United States only to lose another son. You truly feel his pain of being unable to pass down his family's teachings.
In the war, I lost my first family. I left Japan because of the war. Another chance to pass on the teaching. For 2,000 years, knowledge passed from father to son, father to son.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry,
Teach
don't cry,
me.
don't cry.
I can do it. To honor you, Shidashi.
So we get our next montage as Dukes persuades Tanaka to train him. And even though it's your typical montage, Van Damme shows us his athleticism and skill as a martial artist. It's one of the better montages in cinema, plus the music just fits perfectly. It's one of those montages where you watch it and you believe you can do it yourself. And yes, of course, this is when we witness Van Damme's legendary splits on a larger scale. So once the training is complete, the flashback ends and Tanaka gives Dukes his blessings and wishes him well in the tournament. We then end up in Hong Kong where the Kumite would take place, and this is where we meet Ray Jackson, played by Donald Gibb, and he's one of my favorite supporting characters in the film. The guy has the size to be a believable competitor, but he brings the humor.
I heard you can get killed at that Kumite.
Only if you fuck up.
Okay, USA. Okay, USA.
That hurts me just looking at it.
The way Dukes and Jackson meet is probably the most believable thing in the film. They bond over video games, and I think I've met a lot of my friends playing video games, but I've also lost some while losing in video games. By the way, remember how Dukes went AWOL? Well, the military sent two agents to track him, Agent Helmer and Agent Rollins, played by Norman Burton and Forrest Whitaker. They give a good performance and have this nice little shtick where the young agent begins to get a little too aggressive while the older agent reels him back.
Or do you know if he was going to Hong Kong?
I don't know.
Look, we're not trying to...
Mrs. Tanaka, we're very sorry to have disturbed you. Thank you very much for your time.
Next we meet Victor Lin, played by Ken Soo. He's basically their chaperone, and he gets some genuine laughs out of me. Just listen to this.
You Jackson? You look like a Jackson. That will make you Frank Dux.
No. It's Dukes.
Like put up your dukes, right?
Overall, this trio is who you follow throughout the tournament. Lin explains that the tournament has been around for many years and is held in secret, and that the triad allowed for the tournament to take place in Hong Kong. And to the film's credit, it goes out of its way to show us just how covert and hidden this tournament is, with shots like this of the back alleys of Hong Kong. Dukes and Jackson arrive, and we get a glimpse of the other fighters, and Jackson and Dukes show their invites, but Dukes gets hit with a little bit of racism.
You don't look like Tanaka.
And Lin sticks up for his guy.
What's the difference if Bruce Springsteen is a Shidoshi?
Lin is amazing. Anywho, the fighters surround him as he must then show off the Tanaka Death Touch to prove he's worthy. Yeah, they should definitely honor his invite. This is where we meet our antagonist, Chong Li, played by Bolo Young, and he's just downright intimidating. He's got the look and the martial arts pedigree to back it up. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, oh, you feel it.
Very good. But break, not hit back.
Our protagonists return to the hotel, and this is where we meet Janice Kent, played by Leia Ayers, and she's a journalist trying to find out about the Kumite. Seriously, for a secret tournament, there sure seems to be a lot of people who know about it. Anyway, she's looking for information when one of the fighters tries to take her upstairs, and of course she refuses. Frank Dukes puts her womanhood on the line in a game of catch the coin.
You hold this. If I can grab it before you close your hand, I get the girl.
Of course he wins and takes her out. I'll say this, she doesn't really add anything to the plot. She only does one significant thing at the end, but with a rewrite, you could have just had another character do what she did. Kent is mainly the love interest, but Leia Ayers gives a good performance. Well, we finally arrived at the start of the tournament, and, well, let Lin explain the rules.
There are 3 ways to win. 1, you knock the guy out. 2, your opponent quits and shouts mate. 3, you throw the fucker right off the runway.
And to the film's credit, the fight choreography is great, and it's honestly the highlight of the film. Just like the opening, we see so many different styles clash, but now we see them engage with each other. Plus, I have to admit, this is a montage I enjoy because the song Fight to Survive by Stan Bush, it just slaps on so many levels.
I'm gonna stake my claim. I fight to survive.
Anyways, we finally hear about Chong Li's accomplishments in the tournament. Actually, let Lin take it away again.
He's never been defeated. Holds awesome records. He killed a guy during the last Kumite.
This man is a genetic freak. If I saw myself in a Kumite facing him, I'd scream mate faster than I'd scream doing one of Van Damme's splits. Chong Li makes quick work of his opponent, and now it's time for Frank Dukes to show his skills. He finally gets his hands on the guy trying to smash his girl, and makes quick work of him. But Chong Li does not look happy seeing his record broken. So the agents looking for Dukes finally get some intel of the hotel he's staying in. They arrive and try to persuade Dukes to return to the States before pulling out these super tasers to threaten him. Jackson, being a real one, tackles the agents and gives Dukes enough time to escape. Thus we get a chase montage, and it's just hilarious. It looks like the director told the actors to play tag and have fun because you can see Van Damme smiling at most of it. Take out the generic 80s pop and add some comedic theme music and it works just as well. So we end up at Janice Kent's place for that dinner he won, and they talk about the tournament and how unbelievable it is. Again, it's supposed to be a secret, Frank. It's unbelievable you can't keep a secret. You're definitely that one person you tell a secret to, and then you promise not to tell, but then you go around telling everybody. But overall, they enjoy their date, and she basically is upfront about seducing him. So they bang, and oh my god, I did not need to see that! So Dukes leaves and shows up to the Kumite kinda late. and Lin isn't very happy about that.
Where the hell have you been? You don't tell me nothing, and Jackson don't tell me nothing? You guys are driving me crazy.
Oh, and looky here, she got all dolled up and went undercover with one of the betters. So this is the second round of the tournament. They never show a bracket, but you could definitely follow what's going on. And in this section, we see more fights, but you also see more of the brutal side of this tournament. We see how much more ruthless and dangerous Chong Li is. His brutality is felt with every punch and kick, especially with this guy.
Finish him!
Frank Dukes also shines in the montage and shows his honor and skill in the fight. I love how they're both extremely skilled but the complete opposite of each other, where one only cares about inflicting pain while the other wants to prove his skill in an honorable fashion. Well, I don't know how honorable this is. So in this round we get Jackson versus Chong Li. Jackson actually has him on the ropes early on, but begins to showboat. Chong Li then begins to beat this guy down. Poor Jackson literally gets stomped out. Jackson ends up in the hospital and Dukes wants revenge, but Janice doesn't want Dukes to end up in the hospital as well.
Frank, I don't want to see you get hurt.
Then don't watch.
She then leaves and decides to snitch to the local police. Janice goes to Captain Chen, played by Philip Chan. On a side note, Captain Chen has been seen throughout the film, but hasn't really done much, just like Janice. While all this goes on, we get another montage. But it's your 80s style montage that shows how sad our protagonist is. It's just Duke sitting on a bus having flashbacks. But then we get this. I can't even think about what to say here. It just makes me laugh that Dukes is so distraught that he sees Chong Li stalking him. But on a serious note, if this guy was stalking me, I'd be terrified. So once the sad montage concludes, we arrive at the final day of the tournament. Dukes is walking towards the entrance when he's stopped by the agents along with Captain Chen and his men. The Hong Kong police try to capture him, but he handles them fairly easy. Agent Rollins and Helmer try to tase him, but they fell and are disarmed.
Put these on him once. Use the last warning, Frank.
Well, that was easy. If that's all it took, then why not disarm them when Jackson tackled them earlier in the film? Look, right here. When he turned around, why not jump him? Oh, but instead they just follow him into the tournament to cheer him on. So Dukes arrives just in the nick of time, and the semifinal fights are about to begin. The fight against the Muay Thai fighter is so entertaining. These kicks just feel brutal, and Van Damme shows off more of that athleticism. Of course, Chong Li has to show his brutality. He beats this guy into a pulp and unalives him. The look from the ref is subtle but effective. The officiating body shows respect, but Chong Li says forget that and has some words with Dukes.
You are next.
Well, we finally arrived at the final bout between Frank Dukes and Chong Li. To the film's credit, it did a nice job building up to the confrontation, and Chong Li wearing Jackson's bandana to get into Dukes' head is a nice touch. Our combatants are in their stance and we get a great fight. It starts off fast as Dukes takes control and has Chong Li on the defensive, but he wipes off his kicks and they exchange hits. Chong Li takes control and throws Dukes across the ring, but Dukes regains control and begins to beat the living hell out of Chong Li. Dukes has him reeling, but right before the fight began, Chong Li's assistant hid some powder in his pants, and Chong Li uses this to blind Dukes. Chong Li begins to beat down Dukes with palm strikes, kicks, and just stomps him out, and Dukes is in trouble. He then has some kind of temper tantrum for being blind. But he calms down and remembers that his teacher taught him how to fight blind. Once this happens, he catches Chong Li's punch, and we get incredible kicks from Van Damme. To top this off, we see the legendary helicopter kicks that made this man a star. Chong Li gets knocked out, and instead of killing him, Frank Dukes makes him say, "Mate." I love that ending because throughout the film, fighters were either knocked out of the ring, KO'd, or unalived. As much as Dukes hated Chong Li for what he did to Jackson, he would not let revenge consume him and made Chong Li quit. I know it's a simple karate film, but underneath, there is something poetic about that.
Now he's a philosophizer.
So Dukes is awarded the sword for winning the kumite and brings honor to his master's name. He then visits Jackson and tells him about the fight and how he made Chong Li quit. Dukes even returns his bandana.
By the way, next time you fight, try to keep your clothes on.
You know, you have a lot of nerve telling him to keep his clothes on. So Agent Rollins and Helmer wait for Dukes. Dukes apparently made it way before them. And Duke says goodbye to his love interest. And yeah, that's the film. It ends on a freeze frame and shows all the supposed accomplishments of the real Frank Dukes. Overall, this is by no means a perfect movie, but it sure is entertaining. It falls flat when it comes to the acting, with some of the characters being pointless when you take a step back and analyze it. But the plot is simple enough to follow. It falls under the 80s tropes of montage and everything, but it doesn't detract. In fact, it makes the film much more enjoyable. The fight choreography is where this movie shines. With so many characters, this could have been a jumbled mess, but what I enjoy is that the fighters all get a chance to shine. Finally, Jean Claude Van Damme became a star because of this film, and it shows. Every moment he's on the screen, he takes over with his skill and intensity. His acting may not be the best, but you can see the natural charisma. He'd go on to star in many films such as Kickboxer, Cyborg, and Lionheart. Today, he's a legend in Hollywood and up there with the likes of Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and it's all thanks to Bloodsport.
Well, that was Bloodsport. Once again, I'd like to say thank you for joining our circle. I'm Junior, and please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.